Wrestling with the Past, hosted by Jason Nupp. Join Jason as he reviews classic wrestling footage from the golden era of the WWF, when our biggest childhood fear was anyone from the dreaded Heenan family capturing the precious World Wrestling Federation gold from our red and yellow savior, Hulk Hogan. There were Rowdy Pipers, Snookas who superflied, animals with green tongues, Russian Volkovs, Sheiks of Iron, a demolition that could axe and smash things to bits. It was a glorious time to be alive. It was a time to rock and wrestle, when a video coliseum fulfilled our childhood world with excitement and wonder. And now, the host of Wrestling with the Past, give it up, give it up, give it up for Mr. Jason Nupp.
What's up, guys? Jason Nupp, New Age Revolution, down here in the cave for another video. That's right, tonight we are here with another Wrestling with the Past. That beautiful intro made by my friend Smash Ventura. Go check out his YouTube channel. He is making a triumphant return to weekly YouTube videos very, very soon. And he's a good guy. And Smash Ventura is responsible for all of the intros on this channel. Tonight we are going to talk about, this is the middle of June 1984. We're probably going to end up doing these in at least 3 segments. We might do, it might end up being 4 segments per month because there's 4 weeks in a month. And with the house shows, with the championship wrestling shows, and with the TNT shows, there's a good amount to review each week. And I want to give it the time that it deserves. So we might do these in 4 parts. We're at least going to do them in 3. Before I get into that, check out this awesome new shirt sent to me by my man Tom Strickland. Tom Strickland designed the channel logo. He designed the t-shirts in TeePublic that some of you are still ordering. I just got an update about an order like last week. So some folks are still ordering the New 80s Revolution t-shirts. The Collecting is Half the Battle t-shirts. And this is a pretty awesome one in the G.I. Joe font, 80s kid. Thank you, Tom Strickland. I had him pick up a item from my kid, and then he sent me a few extra goodies, and he's a good guy. So thank you very much, Tom Strickland. I'll show off the other thing you sent me when we do a pickups video. So let's get into it. This is the week of 6. So this is 6/12, 6/16, well, and 6/16. There were 2 shows on June 16th, 1984. And as I was watching this and jotting down some notes, I'm here to tell you that this week in WWF history almost like summarizes my entire wrestling childhood with the WWF and TV wrestling. These 3 shows that I watched pretty much represented my whole childhood in 3 very simple shows, and you'll get why when I tell you. We'll start off first with the TNT episode, the June 12th Tuesday Night Titans episode. So for 2 weeks now, and I didn't mention it the last time, but for 2 weeks, they have done vignettes where Paul Orndorff is absolutely abusing staff. So the first vignette, Paul Orndorff is in the gym, and he's teaching a workout class, and he is verbally assaulting everybody who signed up to take the class, including a larger woman who he openly calls fat and gross, and she's just taking it like she's a hired actress, and she's trying not to laugh, and Paul Orndorff is just ripping her to shreds. And he's showing them how to work out, and he's telling them that they'll never look like him, and they're all doing the workouts wrong, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. And then he digs in on the bigger lady, and he just shreds her. Well, this week he's in a salon, And he's got 4 girls working on him. They're working on his hair. One of them's like giving him a massage. The other one's working on his feet. And one of them's working on his hands, his nails. And he's just trashing them too. And one of them is shining his sneakers, which is just, hilarious. So she's shining his sneakers and he's telling her that she's not doing it right, to spit on the shoes, and she's spitting on his shoes. And I'm like slightly uncomfortable watching this. The lady is like, for the bit, she's like messing up his hair on purpose. And then he looks in the mirror and he's just so mad at how bad the hair looks. And he's threatening to hit the women. And oh my God, it's just so dated 1984 stuff that we all used to laugh about and not cry about. Even raging liberals like myself apparently don't cry at the Paul Orndorff video, but I wanted to, yeah, because I'm a raging liberal. But anyway, I won't get into that. Anyway, so that's hilarious. That is funny stuff. Also on the card, we get a little bit more of, or also on the TNT, we get a little bit more of wrestling from the chase, or wrestling at the chase. And again, this is a show that I've never seen. It wasn't a show that was on in my market. It's a St. Louis-based show. And I would really like to get my hands on some wrestling at the chase footage, because it's a different vibe. It's almost caught between a house show and a Saturday morning TV show. The matches are a little bit higher quality. Not necessarily main event, but they're given more time, it seems. So I don't know if this was a 2-hour show, wrestling at the chase. But the match that TNT featured was SD Jones and Mil Mascaras taking on Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdock, the current WWF Tag Team Champions. And that match got about 12 minutes, which for a TV match is unheard of. And it was a very back and forth contest. I mean, SD Jones was a great wrestler. Mil Mascaras is great. And Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdock are stellar. And it was fun. It was a fun, longer match where the job guys certainly were not treated as job guys. There was a lot of offense in that match from Jones and Mascaras. I would love to know what the format was for Wrestling with the Chase. I've seen a B. Brian Blair versus Paul Orndorff match there that almost went 20 minutes. And Howard Finkel is the ring announcer. He's not the ring announcer yet on Saturday mornings, but he is on Wrestling with the Chase. I think it's McMahon and Gene Okerlund doing commentary. And what was the deal? Did they have interviews? Did they air a Piper's Pit? Or was it just wrestling? It's fun. Like I said, it's caught in between a house show and a Saturday morning TV show. It's an in-between. That match was fantastic. Adrian Adonis is so great. Adrian Adonis at this stage is so great. He is a very agile, bigger guy and bumps like crazy. He does some incredible over-the-top rope bumps. He does a backwards over-the-top rope bump that I think is so amazing, where he actually gets hung up in the ropes as he flips over the ropes. And it just looks rough. And he's a big guy. And he does it, and does it well. And Dick Murdock is just probably one of the best Texas brawler dudes, that there was. Also on this TNT, it showed, it gave the, not necessarily the announcement, but it gave the word that Vince McMahon's dad died. Vincent J. McMahon had died a month prior to the airing. And so Lord Alfred Hayes made that announcement awkwardly in front of Vince McMahon Jr. And then they went to a clip at MSG where they it looked like they were having a banquet of sorts. And somebody from MSG was talking at a podium about McMahon Sr. and was presenting him with an award that McMahon Jr. was going to accept. And so McMahon Jr. comes up. This is after his dad had died. Comes up, says some things about his father, and then accepts the award. And Vinnie Mac is choked up. He's tearing up, not necessarily full on crying, but he's choked up. And it's it's interesting. It was Interesting thing to watch. And then the next month they gave him a 10-bell salute at Madison Square Garden. So TNT is and still remains my favorite syndicated WWF show, just edging out Saturday Night's Main Event, which I still can't understand how I have allowed that. But the next episode this week is Championship Wrestling, the Saturday morning TV show. This is from June 16th, 1984. Now this is a massively influential episode. We've got some interesting things happening. We are a little short on matches this week because there are a few segments that really start to tailor the future of the WWF. Hello. Come in. So first we've got... So the card starts off, the TV show starts off with Tito Santana taking on Cowboy Bob Orton, which, okay, there's a main event match. The Intercontinental Defense. Did you really just do that? You just did that. I'm sure the people have heard that. Okay, so if you didn't hear that, play it back and put headphones on. You'll hear my 5-year-old just wrecking it down here. Santana versus Orton starts off the card, which we never see. Interestingly, as they announce Orton and Santana, Joe McHugh also introduces Hulk Hogan. And he comes out to the crowd to just high-five the crowd, shake Tito Santana's hand, point at Cowboy Bob Orton, and then he leaves. And they did this a few times back then. They did it with like Andre the Giant, like just randomly just introduced I don't know what it is, to pop the crowd or something, but what? What's the point of that? Just having Hulk Hogan come out, walk around ringside, shake a few hands, and then shake Tito Santana's hand. And meanwhile, the announcers are just putting Hogan over like mad. Obviously a great match between Orton and Santana, not getting nearly enough time that they would deserve. Paul Orndorff, once again, solidifies himself as one of the wrestlers that I was scared of. He takes on Rudy Diamond, a job guy who, was a lovable loser, never really, didn't get the house show treatment, just jobbed on TV a lot. Well, for some reason, Diamond has the bright idea to work the crowd up into more and more Paula chants, which infuriates Orndorff. I mean, he is terrifyingly angry. Then Rudy Diamond leaves the ring. This is so strange. He leaves the ring. He runs down the aisle, back to the dressing room, and takes a good 3 to 5 minutes, it seemed, to come back wearing a Paula t-shirt. Just one of those black 80s shirts with white lettering Paula. That's it. And gets in the ring with it and kind of dances around. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the death of Rudy Diamond. That's the last time Rudy Diamond's family ever saw him alive, because Paul Orndorff pummels him after that. Tears the shirt off, but the shirt isn't tearing. So you can see, like, Orndorff ripping at the shirt, and Rudy Diamond's neck is just jerking all over the place because the shirt won't rip. And Paul Orndorff is not trying to not hurt him. And I would love to, again, I would love to talk to some of these guys who worked mainly enhancement and really just ask if my theory is correct that these guys were rough on them and pulled no punches, and took liberties with them, if you will, because he destroys Rudy Diamond. And then he gives him like the pile driver, 2 pile drivers. Gives him 2 pile drivers. One of them looks like Rudy Diamond's neck is driven through the canvas. The other one looks clean, but he destroys Rudy. Like, does Paul Orndorff talk to, like, this is why I want to talk, like, to these guys. Does Paul Orndorff come up to you and say, obviously they talked about the Paula stuff. They talked about the t-shirt, I assume. Does Paul Orndorff tell him, look, I'm going to beat the hell out of you, and you're just going to take it. Like, what? we've also got another like main event style match on the card. B. Brian Blair versus Dr. D. David Schultz. Great match, as expected. Brian Blair at this point in his career is fantastic in the ring, and David Schultz is a great bad guy, you know, who does the right heel stuff, and Brian Blair is the face in peril, as they call it. Great match. But again, very odd that we've got these two high caliber matches tucked into this little show. Well, then we have, so what was going on, I don't know if it happens any further, if it continues next week or the week after, but for 2 episodes now, we've got Mean Gene. They're cutting to Mean Gene after a match, and he's standing in Piper's pit. Without Piper, obviously, without the chairs, without the little blue table, and this time the posters, and without like the Roddy Piper Scottish logo thing. So if you remember Piper's pit, you got the Piper logo in the middle, like the Scottish logo in the middle, and then you have 2 posters on either side of Piper. Well, those are gone. The poster frames are there, but the pictures are taken out of the poster, and the Scottish crest or whatever is not there. And Mean Gene is using it as the interview backdrop. So he interviews Paul Orndorff in Piper's pit right after the Rudy Diamond match. And of course, that's, you know, fantastically angry, terrifying Paul Orndorff, basically saying that he hopes Rudy Diamond is dead. That's what he said, because Rudy Diamond gets stretchered out, and Paul Orndorff says that he hopes he killed him. You know, so, but like, what's the deal with the Piper's Pit interview backdrop? Because maybe around March or April of '84, they would do very occasionally, like once a week, they would do an interview at the curtain where the guys came out. So there was like a blue curtain backdrop, and Mean Gene would host an interview there, usually right after a match, usually interviewing the winner of the match. But that would only happen once. In the 70s and early 80s, McMahon would go right up to ringside, and he would interview them right outside the ring after they won. So I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if they were in transition between interview sets, because, you know, like in '85, when they cut to interviews, they're at like an interview backdrop stage podium. Not even a podium, but there's a backdrop. You know, it was that blue yellow one with the WWF sign in the middle, and they've had different ones over the years, but that starts in about '85, I think. So I don't know if they're just trying to figure out where to interview guys or what, but they're using Piper's Pit. So Gene interviews Orndorff in Piper's Pit, and then that's it. So the main event of the show, usually Piper's Pit is right in the middle of the show, but for this show, Piper's Pit is the main event, because finally, after months of promising, Roddy Piper and Captain Lou have produced Cyndi Lauper in Piper's Pit. And so Piper introduces her, and out from the curtain comes Cyndi Lauper. And that's kind of surreal. It's pretty neat to see. You know, he's got all of her albums out, or you know, her album and all the magazine covers and stuff, and he's got them all out on his little desk there, his table. And she comes out, and she's Cyndi Lauper. And for a few seconds, I'm like, is she hot? You know, is she attractive? And then she starts talking, and you're just like, oh, that's too bad, because she's got a very interesting voice. Kind of kills it. But Piper's talking to her, and you know, he's playing good guy with her, and he likes her, and he's saying she's great, and then every once in a while he'll subtly throw in, you know, how much we have to thank Captain Lou, and she'll kind of make a face and be like, well, what? And then she'll go on with the interview, and then it gets to, stop doing that, Finn, you're gonna pull it out. Then she gets to the point where she just flat out says, you know, Captain Lou's not my manager. Well, then this brings out Captain Lou, and he starts going off. It's subtle at first, and then Captain Lou just digs in, and he starts talking about, you know how I took you from a nothing, from a nobody, where you should be in the house barefoot. You know, he does the whole barefoot and pregnant and cleaning, you know, making her man a sandwich type of thing, and he really starts degrading her and women in general, and she starts getting real mad. And at first she's like, Lou, I know you're just kidding, right, Lou? This is a joke, right, Lou? And then he just keeps hammering, and then she's like, Lou, you're getting me mad, Lou, you're getting me mad. And and she starts beating up Roddy Piper and Lou Albano. And she rips Roddy Piper. He's got kind of like a ruffly sort of, I don't know if it's like an old tuxedo thing, but he's got like a ruffly thing that goes down the front of his shirt. And she yanks it off of him and hits him with it. And she's smacking Lou Albano with her purse. And then Dave Wolf comes out and he kind of pulls her out of the set. And she comes back through the curtain kicking and screaming, and Dave Wolf pulls her back. It was the best. Go look for it. Go YouTube it. It's the best. And wow, does it set up the next year of the WWF. It sets up WrestleMania. It sets up Wendy Richter becoming women's champion. It sets up MTV, the Rock and Wrestling Connection, probably even the LJNs in some weird, way. It's here. The national takeover is happening, and it all happens from this Piper's Pit. So that's incredible. Finally, we have an MSG house show from June 16th, 1984. That is the week that I watched. A couple of highlights from that card. We've got a very, very interesting matchup. We've got the Samoans, who at no point gave any indication that they were turning face. The Samoans versus Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdock for the tag team titles in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Very strange. WWF did not do bad guy versus bad guy at this point in time. And it's interesting. When I said that the Samoans gave no indication of a face turn, I guess that's not true. The Samoans lost the tag team titles when Albano hit one of them accidentally over the head with a chair, causing, the Rocky Johnson or Tony Atlas to get the pin. So that might have been a little bit of an indication. And this one is interesting because Albano has not pledged his loyalty to either team. He says he's with... So he comes out by himself. He's introduced by Howard Finkel prior to either tag team coming out. Then the Samoans come out. Then the champs come out. The match is on. Adonis and Murdock win the first fall. And Lou Albano comes out to celebrate with them. And then goes back to the dressing room. Then the Samoans win the second fall, and Lou Albano comes out to celebrate with the Samoans. And they're looking at him like, what are you doing? But there was no official, turn for the Samoans. Samoans end up losing the third fall, and Adonis and Murdock keep the title, and then Lou Albano comes out with them and celebrates with them. And then for the announcements for next month's MSG card, the Samoans take on Mr. Fuji and Tiger Chung Lee, which, again, like what were they planning? Because the Samoans are shortly gone after this. So what were they planning? Were they planning a Samoan face turn? And it would have been great. It would have been great. The crowd in this match was absolutely behind the Samoans. So I think it would have worked out just fine. The next match, we've got Dr. D, David Schultz, taking on Andre the Giant, which I remember as a kid would excite me very much when Andre would go against the Iron Sheik, when he'd go against Roddy Piper, when he went against David Schultz, because, as a kid, you knew that Andre was going to finally kill these guys. These guys were going to finally get it. And it's fun. It's fun to see Dr. D tossed around. He doesn't really get much offense. There's a little bit of time when Andre's down and getting beat up, but it's fun to see, Dr. D get thrown around by Andre. We've got Tito versus Greg Valentine in one of the best matches I've seen. It is a very LJN style match, meaning it's Tito in his purple trunks. It's Greg in his solid black trunks. They look like LJNs wrestling in the ring. It's the outfits the LJNs have. So it's very, very, very fun to watch. And they have just an amazing chemistry together, and the matches are fantastic. And this one goes about 18 minutes. And Valentine actually wins by countout, which, just leads to the next match. Between the two of them, and the matches after that, the matches fell. I'm not sure exactly when Valentine wins the title, but it's coming. But those two guys have just an awesome feud. And as an adult, I want to watch this to see just how long the feud was. Because in my little kid head, Greg Valentine versus Tito Santana, they fought for years, right? They feuded for years. No, they probably feuded for about 6 months. And, we'll get to see that. I'm gonna watch this feud play out. Finally, we've got another boot camp match. This is the third boot camp match that I've seen between Sheik and Slaughter. Go out of your way to see this. The MSG June 16th, 1984 boot camp match is one of the best matches I've ever seen. They pummel each other. There is blood everywhere. The ring mat is absolutely stained with blood and debris from the crowd. Amazing match. It gets a lot of time. For some reason, this boot camp match is a falls count anywhere match. So there's a couple of pinfalls outside of the ring, and it's very strange in 1984 to see the referee down there counting a 2 count on the concrete floor. But none of the other boot camps are falls count anywhere, but this one was. And it is so good. It is so violent. It is so violent for 1984, but it is so good. And again, Sergeant Slaughter and Iron Sheik are masters of their craft at this time in their careers. Iron Sheik knows his job as an ultra bad guy and sells like crazy for the good guy, Sergeant Slaughter. He flies all over the ring. Sergeant Slaughter still does that over-the-top turnbuckle spot where Iron Sheik whips him into the turnbuckle. Instead of turning and backing into the turnbuckle, Slaughter goes flying over it. That usually results in a blood, in some blood, because he usually hits his head on the top of that the corner post. But he launches himself over the turnbuckle in these matches. It is so good. And Iron Sheik is a great bleeder. He is great. He's bald, and he sweats a lot. And so the blood just pours down his back, down the back of his head. It's splattered. It's so good. They left this match for dead last because the ring was unusable after this match. It is covered in blood and debris. Go check out the boot camp match, MSG, June 16th, 1984. So that's that. That is the week in the WWF, June 12th through June 16th. Coming up, we've got the third week in June. We've got TNT. We'll probably have another house show. We'll definitely have a championship wrestling episode. And so that's how we're going to do this. We're going to do this in 3 parts, maybe 4, if there's enough action in the particular week to talk about. That is Wrestling with the Past. And go check out this week. It's such a great week in wrestling. Go look at the Cyndi Lauper on Piper's Pit, and go look at the boot camp match from MSG. There's boot camp match from Boston. There's boot camp match from Philly, from Baltimore. Do the MSG one, 16th, 1984, June.